Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th Canto, Chapter 14, text number 11. Nirupitaha prajapalaha sajigyam sati vai prajaha tatapi shantva ye mamu nasmam statpatakam sprishet. Translation purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. We appointed this King Vena king of the state in order to give protection to the citizens. But now he has become the enemy of the citizens. Despite all these discrepancies, we should at once try to pacify him. By doing so, we may not be touched by sinful results caused by him. Purport. The saintly sages elected King Vena to become the king, but he proved to be mischievous. Therefore, the sages were very much afraid of incurring sinful reaction. The law of karma prohibits a person even to associate with a mischievous individual. By electing Vena to the throne, the saintly sages certainly associated with him. Ultimately, King Vena became so mischievous that saintly sages actually became afraid of becoming contaminated by his activities. Thus, before taking any action against him, the sages tried to pacify and correct him so that he might turn from his mischief. Text 12. Tad vidbhat bhira sadvrito veno asmabhi krito nrupaha santvito yedina vacham na grahishyati adharmakrit lokadikhara sandagdham dahishyamaha swatejasaha. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. The saintly sages continued thinking, of course we are completely aware of his mischievous nature, yet nevertheless we enthroned Vena. If we can persuade King Vena to accept our advice, if we cannot persuade King Vena to accept our advice, he will be condemned by the public and we will join them. Thus, by our prowess, we shall burn him to ashes. Purport. Saintly persons are not interested in political matters, yet they are always thinking of the welfare of the people in general. Consequently, they sometimes have to come down to the political field and take steps to correct a misguided government or royalty. However, in Kali Yuga, saintly persons are not as powerful as previously were. They used to be able to burn any sinful man to ashes by the virtue of their spiritual prowess. Now, saintly persons have no such power due to the influence of age of Kali. Indeed, the Brahmanas do not even have the power to perform sacrifices in which animals are put into fire to attain a new life. Under these circumstances, instead of actively taking part in politics, saintly persons should engage in chanting the Mahamantra, Hare Krishna. By the grace of Lord Chaitanya, by simply chanting this Hare Krishna Mahamantra, the general populace can derive all benefits without political implications. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport. So the saintly sages were in a big fix because they appointed King Vena as a king. Even though they had a lot of doubts, they were aware of his mischievous nature. But because nobody else was there, they made him the king. And having made him the king, they observed that he was becoming very mischievous, engaging in so many sinful activities. So much so that the sages also feared that his sinful reaction would even affect them simply by associating with him as a king. So they all became afraid that they would become contaminated by the sinful activities of King Vena. So here they are taking a decision that we have to cool him down. We have to pacify him. Because all these things happen by Rajoguna. So we have to pacify him and correct him so that he stops his mischievous activities. From this we see how sensitive a human being is about sinful activities. A gentleman or a person who is God-fearing is always very alert and careful about how he acts in relationship with others, in relationship with this material energy. He is always very careful that he does not end up doing any sinful activity. In this material world itself, according to the codes of dharma, what is sin, what is pious activity are all given, and one who is conversed with the principles of dharma, which are kept alive and enunciated, spread and propagated by the Brahmanas in the society. Everyone in the society, from all varnas and ashramas, knew what is sinful and what is pious. A human being can evolve into a higher species only if he has enough of pious activities to his credit. And a human being can not only get a higher birth in the next life, but he is also given an opportunity to not get any more birth in this material world. Even those who are determined that I do not want to take a birth again in this material world, they also have to be very careful about not incurring sinful activities and accumulating sinful reaction. So this consciousness or this alertness brings self-control in the human being from doing what he likes, from doing mischievous things. When do you call somebody is mischievous? Sometimes we tell children they are very mischievous. Because they, without control, they do what comes in their mind. If a child takes an instrument, say TV or something, and does something, it's mischievous. Because that is not, a TV is meant to be operated in a particular way. In the same way, the entire existence belongs to the Supreme Lord. This is the essence of Krishna consciousness. And it belongs to Him. And it is meant to serve Him. When we say it to serve Him, from Krishna's point of view, He considers every part and parcel as Him. So serving Him means truly serving ourselves also, our true souls. Just like pouring water in the root of a tree takes the water to the leaves, twigs, entire tree is watered. So pouring water in the root, that is called devotional service. So in this material world, even if somebody is not surrendered to Krishna, if he follows the principles of Dharma, he can gradually evolve into a higher life. But there is no guarantee that that going higher life is a permanent step. Again he will fall down. Abrahma bhuvana loka punaravartano Arjuna. So even materialistically looking at it, any amount of punya you do, you only have a temporary phala. So the devotee is not interested in accumulating punya to get another good birth. So he engages in devotional service which is beyond punya and papa. Prabhupada gave a nice example. Punya and papa. Means how we do not, aspire for punya and papa. Prabhupada once said, is there any difference between dry stool and wet stool? Stool is stool. So both punya and papa are self-centered activities which keep you in this material world. We want to engage in transcendental activities. Of course, in this material world, because you may ask a question, then we are interested in transcendental activities. So anyway, pious or sinful, it does not matter. I can engage in both and engage in transcendental activities. Because that is all temporary. I don't care for what activities I do. It is a fact that if you are sticking on to devotional service of the Lord, then naturally where is the opportunity for either punya or papa? No opportunity, because 24 hours you are acting as a servant of the Lord, and that is called devotional service. And the devotees, they know that I have come to devotional service from a conditioned state where my life is influenced by my past punya and papa. And I am dovetailing that in service of the Lord. Sarvadharman parityaja mamekam sharanam vrajaham tam sarvapapebhyo moksheshyam masuchaha. With faith that these, whether my past punya or papa, irrespective of what it is, will not pull me down into the material world, but it will, Krishna will make sure that, do not worry, he says, Masucha, your papebhyo, all the sins, I will transform it into a spiritual benefit for you. Even though it may still act, or it may not act as Krishna decides. So a devotee knows this body means papa and punya. As long as this body is there, it is a result of papa and punya. So when I am engaging in devotion service, I should not increase the papa. That continuing to do sinful activities on the strength of one's devotion service is considered to be a very big offense. I am chanting Hare Krishna, so I don't have to bother. I can perform sinful activity. Means, why does one perform sinful activity? Selfish enjoyment. All sinful activities, what is a common characteristic? I in the center, false ego in the center. His enjoyment, gross or subtle. In this material world, there are bona fide enjoyments allowed. So those who, karmis, who stick to bona fide enjoyment, self-centered enjoyment. Why it is called bona fide? Because it's allowed in the Shastras in a restricted way. So it does not become 100% selfish. A man has obligations to his children, his parents, his family, has obligation to his society. So these are all the things that are regulating the person's selfishness. That we can understand in Krishna consciousness, from the Krishna conscious perspective, Krishna conscious philosophy, that all these rules and regulations are meant to reform the living entity from his consciousness of self-centered enjoyment to Krishna-centered enjoyment. Krishna enjoys first. I engage in devotion service to Lord. That is my pleasure. That is my constitutional pleasure. To give pleasure to the Supreme Lord. So here the sages are so much concerned about the sinful activities, how it will affect them. Because it is, once sinful reactions are there, very difficult to progress in spiritual life. Therefore it said, no intoxication, no meat eating, no illicit sex, no gambling. These are the four major sinful activities. Sinful activity means you are short-circuiting your existence. As per Krishna's design of this creation, even if you don't want Krishna, you want to live in this material world, you have to follow certain norms. And when you break that, that is called sinful activity. So even though sinful activity, result of it is temporary, a devotee is extremely cautious because he has to be free from sinful activities, sinful reactions, to be fixed in his devotion service to the Supreme Lord. The 7th chapter, Krishna says, Yesham tu antagatam papam jananam punyakarmana tu dvanda moha nirmukta bhajante mam drida vrataha. So even though we are indifferent to the results or uninterested in the results of punya or papa, a devotee, as we discussed, still he has got inclination towards being pious. You cannot be sinful and become Krishna conscious. Because sinful means violating the laws of Krishna. You cannot violate the laws of Krishna and say, I am a devotee of Krishna. Yesham tu antagatam papam, completely eradicated from sin. Jananam, such pious people, they can become free from duality and worship the Lord with determination. So, determination in devotional service cannot come unless one is free from sinful activities. And that is why a human being has to be very sensitive, like these rishis are, in their own self-interest, in the interest of the society, welfare of everyone in the society. One has to curb sinful activities. Sinful activities for a devotee is like engaging in sinful activities, like pouring water on the fire of devotional service. We engage in devotional service, we chant Hare Krishna, then we are foolishly pouring water over the fire. So net advancement will be very slow. Of course, devotional service is so powerful. Association with the holy name is so powerful. One naturally get enlightened about how these sinful activities are a trap which keeps the living entity in this material world. These sinful activities are performed for pleasure, momentary pleasure, but actually they are, when a devotee has decided, I want to go back to Godhead, when a devotee has decided that going back to Godhead means change in the attitude of seeking pleasure and happiness, from independent seeking to Krishna dependent pleasure, happiness, existence. That is the meaning of devotion service. Change in the attitude. So unless that change in the attitude, naturally such a change of attitude will inhibit a person from sinful activities. It will inspire the devotee, such realization will inspire the devotee to change his old bad habits once for all, so that he makes quick progress. The Lord is seated in the heart. He is waiting for the devotees. He is very happy when the devotees engage in devotional service. And he is very unhappy when the same devotee recklessly engages in sinful activity. Because it's a law of nature. Reactions to our actions is laws of nature. God has created it. The Lord in the heart is unhappy because, now again he is going to suffer. So Lord is unhappy when we engage in sinful activities, when devotees engage in any kind of sinful activities or break regulative principles. The Lord is unhappy. Why? Because he sees that we are embracing a future suffering. We are getting more and more trapped into remaining in this material world, as against the primary desire of the devotee to get out of this material world. So every sinful activity reinforces bodily concept of life. Being in the bodily concept of life is a trap, is a punishment. Identifying with this material body and identifying with this life centered around the material body is a punishment for the living entity, who is actually part and parcel of Krishna. To live in forgetfulness of Krishna is a punishment, because you cannot engage, you cannot have an attitude of independent existence and pleasure that is called Maya consciousness. It cannot stand with Krishna consciousness. So everything in existence is, as we always say, Maya is in the mind. Maya is not outside. Outside, everything is Krishna's existence. It may be temporary, but it is Krishna's energy. Devotees see everything in relationship with Krishna. When they see things separated from Krishna, or Krishna's pleasure, or Krishna's use for devotional service, use for Krishna, then that is illusion. So illusion there's nowhere illusion. As per Vaishnava Siddhanta, everything is truth. Temporary truth, eternal truth, everything is a fact. Material energy is truth because it has come from the absolute truth. It cannot be false. Then what is Maya? Maya is in the perception. Illusion is what? Illusion is about perception. Illusion is about perception. You see truth as untruth. And you see untruth as truth. For instance, I am this body. You are seeing untruth as truth. You are not the body, but you are seeing it. Yes, I am this body means that is the truth for you. So each one of us in our mind, how we relate with the material energy, how we relate with other persons, that is either Maya or Krishna conscious. So there is a way to live in this material world without being in Maya. Not that as long as you see this material world, you are still in Maya. No. Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita. Krishna was in this world. He didn't say everything is Maya. If Krishna is the absolute Lord, absolute truth, sees the battle of Kurukshetra. Kurukshetra battlefield cannot be Maya. So we can walk in this material world. You can be in this material world by seeing everything in connection with Krishna. Nirbandha Krishna Sambandha. Yukta Vairagya Yuchyate. The fact is that everything is connected to the Lord. There's a purpose for everything. If we engage everything as per that purpose, then you are not in Maya. You are in the spiritual world. You are in truth. You are not in untruth. So the characteristic of sinful activity is you are engaging in activity which is not the constitutional purpose of that particular thing. For instance, you take no illicit sex. Why is it called sinful activity? Because in the design of the total system, there is a purpose for man, woman, or gender differences. And we obviously know that it is procreation. The world itself cannot exist without that. So this is the design of the Lord. And further, it is a design of the Lord that the living entities learn loyalty, the living entities learn that marriage or sex is for a purpose. Sex is not the purpose. Just like the purpose of life is not to eat. But you eat to live. So whether you eat to live or you live to eat, your tongue is satisfied. Tongue satisfaction is there. The sense of taste, God has given sense of taste. You cannot live your life for simply satisfying that taste. Similarly, with every other pleasure in this body, it has to be engaged within the regulated purpose. Then that is not called sinful activities. Krishna says, I am sixth life according to regulative principles. It is how we relate with woman, how we relate with husband, how we relate with wife, how you relate with children, how you relate with property, how you relate. That's what constitutes Maya. And there you need guidance from the spiritual master who will tell you this perspective is Maya. Abusing sexual pleasure, that is called illicit sex. It's not meant to be abused, it is to be used for a purpose. Everything is when it is used in service of the Lord, it becomes divine. As we said, Maya is not outside. Maya is our relationship. When you have a wrong relationship with things, then that is Maya. Oh, this property belongs to me, this mine. Not like this. Your relationship with wealth, your relationship with money. You're a caretaker, you're a trustee. On behalf of the Lord, it's given to you for certain use, including maybe your own use. But to think that it is mine, that is illusion. Just like a cashier in a bank, if he thinks the money is mine, then he is thief. Similarly, even though according to our karma we have got some things, to think that it is mine is illusion. The result of that karma is given by the Lord. So, in any case, the perspective in which we see this world, this is meant for this is meant for this is meant for this, where Krishna's pleasure is not involved, or Krishna's direction is not involved. The entire Vedas, they have come from God. So we understand the position of each thing. When we act contrary to that, it becomes sinful. It is not simply some, sin means it brings displeasure to somebody, to Krishna. Krishna is also, there is a reason why it brings displeasure to Krishna. So we have to understand the big total picture, and then we will be able to see, we will be inspired to keep ourselves free from sinful activity. Esham tu anta gatam papam. So we also have a goal to become completely free from sinful activities. And you can become completely free from sinful activities only if you have gradually changed your perception of how you see what is outside you. Lauding tendency, sense of possession, sense of exploitation, seeing everything as meant for my enjoyment. In each situation, instead of seeing what does Krishna want me to do, he is governed and pushed by his own self-interest. So there's a whole change of consciousness that happens by change of perception from ignorance to knowledge. You can have two kinds of perception. When you see a hammer, okay, this hammer is meant for hitting nail or anything. That is knowledge. When you see a hammer, you don't know what a hammer is. You use it for some other purpose for which it was, other than it was created. And that is ignorant perception. It's a very crude example. In the same way we see opposite sex. What is the perspective? Perspective should that of the divine design of the Supreme Lord. What is the Maya perspective? Oh, a potential object of my enjoyment. Can be. So by hearing the scriptures, by chanting the holy name of the Lord, by associating with the holy name of the Lord, by Divya Jnana, our perception changes. And the perception changes, then our behavior will change, our relationship with everything outside will change. It will not be sinful. So in a way, a devotee, as he makes advancement in Krishna consciousness, because of his Divya Gyan, automatically he has no interest in working against the design of the Lord. That means doing anything that is sinful. And he knows, because of the big picture he knows, sinful activity means I am destroying myself. Sinful activity means I am working against my goal to go back to Godhead. Sinful activity means it is based on untruth. Sinful activity means it is based on concoction. So from this verse we can see that how sensitive the sages are about sinful activities. Similarly, the devotees who are practicing Krishna consciousness should understand that even though I'm chanting Hare Krishna, I'm doing devotional service and all these things, it is very important for me to see that I don't pour water over all the efforts that I am putting in devotion by my old conditioned behavior, perceptions. And I should change that and have a pure seeing of the world. Pure seeing of the world means you see free from Maya. You see everything for its value as determined and decided by the Supreme Lord. How to see this world, all these things, Krishna himself in the Bhagavad Gita has revealed. Any questions? Here.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Prabhu, you told that when the perception changes, the behavior changes. So what I have heard from devotees is that when you change your behavior, it changes your perception. So is this right? Is this as effective as the previous one?
Both ways. Ultimately, what will sustain is, if your perception changes, then behavior will permanently change. But your perception remains old, but you are forcefully restraining your behavior, then that is one way of moving forward as a temporary solution. You know that this is against devotion service. Based on what my spiritual master has said. I've been ordered not to engage in illicit sex, not to engage in intoxication. I've been ordered. You really do not know the Divya Gyan behind it. You don't have realization of the Divya Gyan behind it. But you follow. Because you have got the support of the holy name, you will get the strength to follow based on faith rather than based on your mature perception. But you go on following that, means with self-restraint. For instance, brahmacharya you have to practice. You may not have full realization how it is Maya, why it is Maya, everything. But rules are given, do this, do that, do. And along with that rules, when you chant Hare Krishna, your Divya Gyan will awaken. Once Divya Gyan awakens, then you spontaneously will desist from those activities. Self-restraint is not required. Only when there is a counter force you need restraint. So your perception is pure, then you don't need self-restraint. It's not that, like if Prabhupada is walking on this planet, he has to constantly in self-control of, Maya attacking. No, there's no question. Maya is in the head. There's no Maya in his head. So there's no kind of a self-restraint, self-control, all those things required. Because everything is naturally seen for what it is to please Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. While rendering the devotional service, interaction with the different devotees, we also develop certain perceptions. We also develop certain perceptions.
Yeah.
Initial phases when we are in the services. So that perceptions has gone in a subconscious level where it takes time for the changes. And there is as you rightly mentioned, direct impact on the behavioral as well. So perception has developed, so certain incidents are also connected with those that, okay, has happened, this is what the incident consequences were like this, so we should not. So behavioral change also is there, and emotions are also playing all around. So whenever any incident, such similar kind of situations occurs, so immediately those comes up from the back end, and there is a force on the behavior. A person doesn't want to even, but he's forced to do that. In certain situation, how do we deal?
No, it is a fact. First you have to understand how this system works. We have the subconscious mind which keeps learning, good and bad. Whatever happens, whatever you teach, a past instance, if you have reacted badly, that it learns. And a similar situation comes, it comes up. But that's not permanent. If you don't respond to it, if you respond to the situation in a different way, the very same subconscious will relearn. It is not permanent, it will relearn. So this you should understand, that my subconscious is a learner. And it will speak my own language. What I have taught in the past, it will speak. So then you get confidence. Oh, I have to clean my subconscious. I have to change. I have confidence that just like my subconscious has learned the dirty things, my very same subconscious can learn pure devotional things. It is just a machine. It's a machine that memorizes my past experiences, experiential memory. So cleansing the subconscious, that is Chetodarpana Marjanam. The holy name has got that power to cleanse old pleasure memories. Without the help of chanting, changing perception is out of question. That's karma. You have to be like, you will be like that. Your personality will not change. Will not change. Little it may change. As you said, very fearful events happen and all, it may change. But otherwise it will not change. We are hoping to change our perception and see the world purely because of chanting the holy name. So that is in everything, even in chanting, old habits of chanting. It comes and forces you. We put it there. So simple logic, I put it there and it is thinking and hearing, thinking and chanting. At one time I never chanted. Then I taught my mind to chant. Then I taught my mind to chant and think. It learned. Now I want to chant without thinking. It will also learn.
In these cases, there are authorities who are teaching basically. Authorities, let's say we have reached to the soulful japa level. Every incident you are learning from the authorities. But like a point has come now. I'm like, now we have reached that there is a way. This is the way for the chanting. So far, we were not taught in that. Thinking is going on. Okay, japa is over. Yeah, 16 round over. But how did you do? That was not the. So we have reached. So there are realization from the authorities which we have reached to that stages. Learning stages from the authorities is.
Yeah, that is why Vaishnava association is essential, number one. Number two, this may be realization of the authorities, but it is right there in the books of Prabhupada. Huh? So even more fundamental is you very sharply understand and read Prabhupada's books, you will get. There are many things. About japa, I say. There are many things. You read and you understand. Okay, take sinful activity. Go deep into it, you study what Prabhupada says about sinful activities. Then you get good realizations. So constantly, and especially today with the folio, with the Prabhupada Veda base, such nice facility is there. Imagine if that was not there, if you want to read everything about sinful, you have to read the whole thing, very sinful. Impractical. What you cannot do, what you could not have done 50 years back, you can do now. Simply type sinful, all the paras will come. Read all the paras. You get a clear idea of what is sinful activity. Like that, subject-wise you go into it. Just like japa, holy name, I went into it. It's right there. Chant and hear exactly the same sound. And it gets linked up with many things. Because Prabhupada says about example of iron put in the fire. So you connect this and that. If the iron is not in the fire, what will happen? Then you connect. Why Prabhupada is saying chant and exactly the same sound you hear. Only when you hear, you are taking the holy name inside. So studying Prabhupada's books is very important. It's there. Everything is there. Plus association of Vaishnavas. Randraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai.